Hello and welcome. Tonight, police arrest 15 suspects, recover items as some resident loot government warehouse in Abuja amid growing inflation and rising cost of living. Human rights activist Femi Falana challenges the federal government to deny or confirm if subsidy has been reintroduced amid allegations that it is paying 1 trillion naira every month. In his drive to boost investors' confidence, President Bola Tinubu urges Qatari investors to report any Nigerian government official who asks for bribe. And Israel demands names of hostages still alive before committing to a new deal on ceasefire. Police Command says it has arrested 15 suspects, including 2 security guards who actively participated in the looting of a warehouse belonging to the Federal Capital Territory Agriculture and Rural Development Secretariat on the outskirts of the city center in the early hours of today. The looters stripped the warehouse as they vandalized the facility, but the intervention of soldiers led to the arrest of some of the perpetrators. A statement by the Public Relations Officer, SP Josephine Ade, says that exhibits including 26 bags of maize, 5 motorcycles, and some vandalized aluminium roofing sheets were recovered from the suspects. The statement reads in part, "The FCT Police Command is fully informed about the impulsive attack on the Agric Department Strategic Food Store located at Tasha, Abuja on the 2nd of March by some mobs, which resulted in the vandalization and looting of the warehouse. The command wishes to state that normalcy has since been restored to the environment and the situation is very much under control." The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, had earlier denied reports alleging that the agency's warehouse was looted by some hoodlums in Abuja. And in Edo State, 2 policemen on escort duty have been beaten to death, with 2 others injured following a mob action at Ipeshi in Akeredolu local government area of the state. The incident reportedly occurred after a Toyota Hilux vehicle belonging to the escort duty policemen in the convoy of a former member of the Edo House of Assembly, Emmanuel Lagbaje, hits the motorcycle. The accident is said to have resulted in the death of the rider, a woman, and her child. The youth from Ipeshi community are said to have thereafter tracked the policemen down and beaten them to death. And 2 of the other escort duty policemen were, however, rescued by operatives of the Edo State Vigilante Network in that area, and they're currently undergoing treatment at an undisclosed hospital in the state. The spokesperson of the Edo State Police Command, Chidi Nwabuzo, who confirmed this incident, disclosed that the 4 policemen were from Police Mobile Force, the PMF 19 in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. He also explains that investigation into this incident is ongoing, after which the command will release more details to the public. Meanwhile, the Edo State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, has faulted the Central Bank of Nigeria over its recent increment in the monetary policy rate to 22.75%. Mr. Obaseki argued that the decision is not a solution to the current economic crisis in Nigeria. Instead, he is now advocating for an increase in local production to cater for goods and services. Mr. Obaseki gave this opinion in his speech as a guest speaker during the annual dinner of the Edo Zone of the Bankers Committee in Benin City, the Edo State capital.
Please sit down. Your Excellency, I understand the monetary rationale for increasing MPR, but fundamentally and fiscally, it is not going to lead to growth in our economy. We must focus on the fundamentals, which is increasing production, making sure our citizens produce the goods and services we consume and depend less on imports. Our economic policy and monetary policy cannot be determined by exchange rates alone. So this whole issue of increasing the cash reserves in the bid to tighten liquidity is going to be detrimental to our economy. I understand the challenge the monetary authorities face, but unfortunately, you cannot clap with one hand. The economy is about fiscal and monetary policies. Both must work hand in hand. And when they don't, as they don't in Nigeria, we'll have a crisis. So we should focus on fiscal issues so that we can grow our economy out of the challenges we have. We should not panic too much because of foreign exchange. We must focus on how we can do things within our economy, how we can grow our economy to earn more foreign exchange, if foreign exchange is our problem. But I believe that creating jobs for young people should be more of a priority for us as a people at this time.
Implementing the Oroshaye report will greatly benefit the country. Well, that's according to the Director General of the Bureau of Public Service Reforms, Dr. Dasuki Abari, in an exclusive interview with Channels Television. He asked Nigerians to exercise patience and caution in consuming information, emphasizing the need to wait for the committee's inauguration and its sharing of its work with the public.
It is such a sensitive work, and I would say very dangerous to us as a nation. We need to support the president and the government in getting some of these decisions implemented that have been taken in the best interests of this country. It is better for us to sit down, do it now, than somebody forcing us or somebody taking the space to do it in our place. And I ask Mr. Arabi if these reforms will get me out of my seat and there will be benefit for Nigeria, stands to regret nothing at all. And that is what the National Strategy on Public Service Reforms, Pillar 4, is talking about. Cultural reorientation, putting Nigeria and the service first before all of us. When we started the 2004 reforms, a lot of people didn't like the changes that were coming on board. A lot of people. And I recall when I went for a program with my former Director General, Dr. Bode Adegoroi, and he was discussing about IPPIS, that one person or one office can sit down and pay the salaries of everybody that's on the payroll. Somebody said, "Are you sure of what you are saying? Can this happen? Is it possible for this to happen?" And it has happened today. And we are even going beyond that.
To catch the complete interview, please watch Newsnight on Monday by 9 p.m. on all Channels Television platforms. And staying with the Oroshaye report, the federal government recently announced its intention to implement that report as a means of cutting down the cost of governance. This is coming as Nigerians battle with the rising cost of living. Many are now calling on the government to address the economic challenges confronting the country. In this report, our State House correspondent Larry Lasisi takes a look at the steps taken and what more needs to be done.
Over the past few weeks, protests have broken out in different parts of the country, triggered by rising cost of living. It culminated in a protest by the Nigeria Labour Congress a few days ago.
There's nobody that doesn't know that a bag of rice is about 70,000 now or more. You can't buy Indomie. You can't buy anything. So you say bread is out of reach. With 30,000 naira minimum wage, if you eat a loaf of bread every day, you'll be spending almost 40,000. If you and your family will be on a loaf of... So and somebody is saying we should not say this.
According to economists, the economy is reacting to policies of the administration of President Bola Tinubu, such as the elimination of fuel subsidy and the unification of the currency rate.
Every policy response to a problem has unintended consequences. And I'm sure the government is doing its best to arrest the situation, but the people will only believe, only feel the impact of those policy responses if they impact on their pockets, if they can see that the cost of living has become no worse than it was. They were praying for things to get better, not for it to get worse.
Government is very concerned about what Nigerians are going through, and therefore government is taking some action to ensure that Nigerians have some relief.
Many people have called on the government to show empathy by cutting down on its spending.
What the people want are, let us see the supply of the goods. Let's stop making fake, false promises. 2, let us begin to see that government expenditure and lavish lifestyle of government officials is toned down so that there's equal sacrifice amongst both policymakers, regulators, market players, and everybody.
The federal government has taken some steps, announcing a reduction for travel delegations and merging some government agencies.
On international trips, the president has directed that no more than 20 individuals be allowed to travel with him. That number will be cut down to 5 in the case of the First Lady. 20 for the president, 5 for the First Lady.
Our administration has taken a very bold step towards implementation on aspects of the Orotanya panel report, which speaks to mergers, subsuming, scrapping, and relocation of parastatals, agencies, and commissions of federal government. This is in line with the need to reduce cost of governance and ensure that we have streamlined efficiency across the governance value chain.
These are considered small steps in the right direction. However, there is more to be done.
Yes, it's okay, but it's not deep at all, because for us, I think the first thing that must be done, like as we have said, is you must look for ways to patronize made in Nigeria goods. You must look for ways to patronize what we produce here. And as we've said severally, there are a lot of cars that have been assembled today in Nigeria. So why will our government take money outside and start importing vehicles when we could make do with what we locally assemble here?
While the economic situation in the country remains, the need for a more efficient government is ever present. It is expected that the government will take more steps that will make that a reality. Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
Human rights lawyer Femi Falana is asking the federal government to confirm or deny whether subsidy regime has been reintroduced after President Tinubu's announcement during his inauguration on May the 29th, 2023. The senior advocate of Nigeria is asking for the clarification following a statement made by the Chief Executive Officer of Pinnacle Oil and Gas Limited, Mr. Robert Dickerman, at the Nigeria International Energy Summit, that the Nigerian government still pays 1 trillion naira every month for petrol subsidy. According to Mr. Falana, since the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has not deemed it fit to deny these allegations, and there is no provision for fuel subsidy in the 2023 and the 2024 Appropriation Acts, the federal government should, without any further delay, confirm or deny the serious allegation and end the surrounding importation of fuel from foreign countries. Mr. Falana also alluded to former President Muhammadu Buhari's administration on spending of 11 trillion naira on the so-called under-recovery within a period of 8 years, despite announcing it had removed subsidy on petrol. He said if the federal government is spending as much as 1 trillion naira on fuel subsidy every month, the policy should be reviewed in the interest of Nigerians. In part 2, after the break, President Tinubu reiterates his administration's zero tolerance for corruption, asks Qatari investors to report any government official who demands a bribe when they decide to invest in Nigeria. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television. A reminder of our main stories. Residents loot government warehouse in Abuja, cart away foodstuff amid growing inflation and rising cost of living. Human rights lawyer Femi Falana challenges the federal government to deny or confirm if the subsidy has been reintroduced amid allegations that it is paying 1 trillion naira every month. In his drive to boost investors' confidence, President Bola Tinubu urges Qatari investors to report any Nigerian government official who asks for bribe. And Israel demands names of hostages still alive before committing to a new deal on ceasefire. President Bola Tinubu has assured the international business community that Nigeria is ready for business, as his administration will take strict action against any entrenched interest that may undermine investors' confidence in the Nigerian economy. Speaking at the Nigeria-Qatar Business and Investment Forum in Doha, President Tinubu told Qatari investors that Africa's largest economy and its systems are being reformed and upgraded as Nigeria is ready for profitable and legitimate enterprise. President Tinubu asked Qatar's captains of industry to report any government official who demands for a bribe or any form of inducement at any point in their business endeavor, moving forward with full assurance of their direct access to the president's office. Earlier, President Tinubu and his host, the Emir of the State of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, also witnessed the signing of 7 agreements between both nations to further strengthen cooperation in areas of education, enterprise development, investment promotion, youth empowerment, mining, tourism, and sports.
We cannot forget whatever you had in the past that is negative. Whatever is the obstacle or problem that some of you might have encountered in the past should be something of the past and no obstacle to the future. Don't overbribe. And if it's taken from you, revert to us. Don't give. Don't let it be a problem from investing. Nigeria is serious about the revolution and evolution in business promotion that we have. We are going to remove all obstacles. We have done so much within 9 months. And I'm assuring you, it's easy. Free in, free out. Bring your investment. Whenever you are ready to go, your money is free to go out. I give you that assurance.
In the last 48 hours, how to improve Nigeria's bilateral relationship with Qatar has been among the priorities of President Bola Tinubu. Now, is there a win-win outlook for both countries? Well, tonight, Babajide Ogunsanwo, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data consultant, is here to tell us more and the answer to this question. Hello, Babajide. It's good to have you on the news at 10. Is there a fair way, to compare the economic potential of Nigeria and Qatar?
There are several ways you could look at it. But first, some people believe that the president did not go to Qatar, and I'll explain that. Some say the president went to Bielsa State. Why do they say so? Qatar, with its population of 2.7 million persons, is the same with the population of Bielsa State. So you understand about that perspective. Some even say the president went to Rivers State, and that's because Rivers State, with its land area of just about 11,000 square kilometers, is approximately the same land area with Qatar. So if you say the president went to Qatar, yes, you're right. If you say he probably went to the equivalent of Bielsa State or Rivers State, you're right. But again, even some believe the president perhaps made a short trip to heaven. And that's because Qatar is among the top 10 richest countries in the world if we look at it from that proxy of GDP per person. And so different ways to look at it depending on what your goal is. But if we want to compare in strict terms, like you said, we can take a look at the strengths of Nigeria relative to Qatar and look at some of the areas where we could be able to see some win-wins, just as you've called it. And if we take a look at that, here's what you'll see. On the population side, we're clearly, we have a population strength, human capital force, talent force that is significantly dominating that of Qatar. In terms of the size of the economy, the fact from the World Bank shows that the Nigerian economy is larger than that of Qatar. $472 billion is the size of the Nigerian economy. Qatar, just below $250 billion. Land area, in simple terms, Nigeria is so big that we can situate 80 Qatars in Nigeria. And in terms of agriculture, that is a big advantage for us. 75% of our land is arable. In Qatar, 94% of their land can't be used to grow any meaningful commercial crops. Here's where they have their strength. Even though their economy is not as large, because of their small population, their economic value creation in terms of GDP per capita per person, GDP per person is significantly higher than Nigeria. And if you ever get a chance to be reborn, you most likely would have, you'll make it to your 70s if you were born in Qatar, and clearly because they have developed more oil and gas infrastructure and better savings habits, they have a stronger external reserves compared to Nigeria.
But Babajide, now, how do we know how much value the president got out of this visit to Qatar?
If you've been following the president pre-campaign, the president seems to be quite smart about this. And so in football, there's something called leg over. Qatar really isn't, if you understand how President Tinubu is thinking, looking at these metrics, Qatar perhaps is not his final destination. Evidence looking at his speeches pre-campaign, during campaign, shows that most likely this is really all about that G6, the Gulf states. I'm talking about Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Oman, Bahrain, UAE. So this is just a warm-up. This is a distraction. This isn't really, I don't think this is really where the president wants to extract value. Again, part of the major challenges why the president has gone, yes, is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, but on this visit to Qatar, President Tinubu has changed his title. He's now the commander-in-chief of marketers. Why do I say so? Let's take a look at the global investment and foreign direct investment situation all over the world, especially Africa. It allows us to understand how difficult getting investment into Nigeria and Africa is. What is in front of us allows us to see what has happened in the last 2 years, released by the World Bank. In 2021, the World Bank states that approximately $1.5 trillion of global FDI was looking for a place to live. Foreign direct investments looking for where to go. Among the $1.4 trillion, $881 billion went to developing economies, which is good. But among the developing economies, Africa got only $80 billion. In simple terms, out of the $1.4 trillion global fixed foreign direct investments, Africa only attracted 5%. It even got worse in 2022. Out of $1.29 trillion worth of monies looking for where to live, foreign direct investment, only $45 billion got into Africa, representing 3% worse than what it was in 2021. To put it in simple terms, 97 out of 100 investors do not bring their money into Africa. And so that's why President Tinubu has worn this garment and dropped his garment of Commander-in-Chief of Armed Forces in Lagos and gone to Qatar as the Commander-in-Chief of Marketers, trying to attract more investment into Nigeria, trying to attract more investment into Africa. But again, understanding how President Tinubu works, looking at his body language, I think this is a leg over. The president is actually going beyond Qatar.
But put it simply, I mean, anyone watching this will want to know, what does Nigeria have that Qatar needs? And what does Nigeria actually need from Qatar?
Yeah, that's perhaps the biggest question of the day, what people are asking. But for us too, before we go into that, one of the ways to really understand, and I like how you put it, what does Nigeria need that Qatar has, and what does Qatar need that Nigeria has? From the Qatar perspective, one way to understand it is to understand what does Qatar import. And
After doing extensive research, there are 5 things that come up on that list in terms of what does Qatar import. Number 1, private and military jets. Number 2, commercial aeroplanes. Number 3, motor vehicles. Number 4, smartphones. And number 5, gold jewelry. And so one country in Africa is tapping into gold jewelry, and that is South Africa. South Africa exports so much gold jewelry to Qatar. That is a major export for South Africa to Qatar. For Kenya, it is roses. Kenya exports a lot of roses to Qatar. For Nigeria at the moment, what's the answer? Here is it. Based on the information available both within Nigeria and from the government of Qatar, they say Nigeria's #1 export to Qatar, cashew nuts. Now, it isn't bad that we're exporting cashew, make no mistakes. The challenge is the value and weight of the cashew we're exporting is beyond what we can use. The value we're getting from exporting cashew is too insignificant to transform Nigeria. So we have to really rethink it. If we're going to go across the cashew route, which is an advantage for us, we've got arable land. The Qatari government clearly needs agriculture because they don't have arable land. However, we cannot be exporting bottles and little quantities of cashew because it wouldn't get us to the promised land. You know, there's a popular saying that one man's meat is another man's poison. In Nigeria, one man's cashew can be another man's cash. And so, yes, cashew isn't bringing us money, but if we think through our value chain, we can position cashew to be among one of Nigeria's greatest exports to Qatar and other nations. Another thing, you know, I talked about the Qatari government and the country importing a lot of private jets, smartphones, motorcycles, motor vehicles. We might, at this point in our economic life, might not be able to export all those items to Qatar. However, we can export some of these raw materials to countries that make smartphones, and eventually those smartphones will get into Qatar. So we also need to think about re-exporting. Look at what's in front of us. At the moment, Nigeria and Qatar, based on data, are backing each other. We are not extracting value. What do I mean? Qatar's exports last year, within the first 9 months, $270 billion Qatari rial. Out of that, how much exports went to Nigeria? Less than 1%. Same thing with Nigeria. First 9 months of last year, we exported approximately 24 trillion naira worth of goods to the world. How much did you export to Qatar? Less than 1%. And so clearly what we've seen is a lot of talk has been happening between Nigeria and Qatar for decades. However, that is not translating to economic value like what you've seen. So Qatar is doing a lot of exports. Few of their exports gets to Nigeria. Nigeria is doing a lot of exports, needs to do so much more. But even out of Nigeria's little exports of 24 trillion naira, very little gets to Qatar. So you understand why I say that this perhaps is a leg over. Perhaps the president has a longer term plan, but in the event, at the final day, this remains our #1 export to Qatar.
All right, so I hope that, in summary, let's hope for positive outcome from this marketing strategy from the president. Thank you very much, Babajide Ogunsanwo, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data analyst, for your time.
Thank you,
on the News at 10. Still ahead on the News at 10, federal government restates commitment to complete the Sokoto-Gusau dual carriageway as Minister of Works Dave Umahi inspects the projects. Please stay with us.
Stay connected to the world with Channels TV Podcast and get all the trending stories. Simply log on to channelstv.com, click on podcast, select the program of your choice, and listen. Our podcast is available on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Tap the expertise you trust. Touch the stories that touch you. Anytime, anywhere. investing in the capital market can be tricky as the numbers move in different directions. Sometimes the bull bellows, other times it's the beer that roars. In all of these, an investment decision has to be made. On Capital Market, we help you take the right decision. Join us at 7 p.m. every Saturday, only on Channels Television. Capital Market, investment tips for you.
Welcome back. One Ghanaian and 12 Nigerians have been arrested by the Nigerian Navy ship, Beecroft, for attempting to steal substance suspected to be crude oil. They were arrested aboard a motor tanker suspected to be involved in crude oil theft. The flag officer commanding Western Naval Command, Rear Admiral Mustafa Hassan, said the interception occurred while the vessel was on its way to Benin Republic, 174 nautical miles, with about 2 million liters of products.
Off the coast of Nigeria, about 20 kilometers, heading westward towards Benin Republic. We dispatched NNS Aba to go and investigate the contact. We subsequently followed the investigation by dispatching NNS Sokoto to double up the search and interdiction. On arrival at the spot, we found empty Sweet Mary, fully laden with about, I would say, a little less than 2 million liters of product with the characteristics of crude oil, and she had no naval approval on board. Another point of interest is that this ship is reportedly, as stated by the crew, owned by a Ghanaian, and it's registered under a Ghanaian company, with one of the crew being Ghanaian. So with Vinalaris, we've done a good job. We've gotten people involved in the theft, and that includes the managerial level of the company that owns the ship. We just have one more person to pick up, and he has absconded. He's outside Nigeria, and we're waiting for him.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Customs Service has also intercepted petroleum products and other contraband worth over 13 million naira along the Nigeria-Cameroon border of Adamawa State. The controller of the Adamawa Taraba Command of the service, Mr. Abdullahi Kazauri, disclosed this during a media briefing in Yola, the Adamawa State capital.
These are items allegedly used for smuggling petrol from Nigeria to some neighboring countries. 245 jerry cans of petrol and a Volkswagen car with a large reconstructed fuel tank.
And the fuel inside it.
For years, Nigeria has continued to battle the challenge of oil theft, which has denied the country billions of naira in terms of revenue.
When they discovered that they could no longer, run away from us, they abandoned the vehicle, they run into the bush. So we carried the vehicle and the fuel inside it. That's how we manage now to bring it down to our office here.
The Nigerian Customs Service, however, says it is determined to stay ahead of the tactics of smugglers.
The command has repositioned all machineries across all its territorial borders in collaboration with other sister agencies towards achieving the herein before co-mandate of the service. The result of this unwavering and collaborative efforts of the command's operatives had yielded a landslide success of the numerous seizures of items recorded hitherto. This success could invariably be predicated on the intelligence sharing, synergy, and the resolute efforts of our operatives. The command, in the period under review, had recorded 15 incidents of seizures of assorted items with cumulative duty paid value of 13,352,100 naira and 0 kobo only.
Also intercepted are expired and unregistered items, including some foreign fruit juice, alcoholic energy drinks, and vodkas. With the seizure, the Nigerian Customs Service vows to auction the petroleum products and the proceeds remitted to the federal government's account.
Some women in Kurudu community are now beneficiaries of a gesture by the Energy Commission of Nigeria and its move towards protecting the climate through the distribution of clean cook stoves. The Director General of the Commission, Dr. Mustafa Abdullahi, stresses the need to protect the environment from carbon emissions, which he has assumed is a worrisome trend.
This interaction is the latest engagement of the Energy Commission of Nigeria with some women in Kurudu, a community in the Federal Capital Territory. The effort is part of the push towards reducing the deaths of Nigerians as a result of the use of traditional biomass energy. The Commission puts the total of Nigerian households who depend on traditional processes at over 21 million.
Improved cook stoves are designed to burn fuel wood more efficiently and cleanly, reducing fuel consumption and harmful emissions. They can also save time, money, and labor for the users and improve their health as well as well-being.
After the speeches, officials of the Energy Commission then moved to see how women in the community have been using firewood to cook. The Director General of the Commission explains the impact of these practices on human health and the environment.
It is firewood that they'll be using, but a very, maybe 1% of what they are using before would be burnt. And the time for boiling or for cooking whatever food they are going to do is going to reduce drastically. In fact, from our own analysis also, it has shown that they only require 1% of that wood that ordinarily they will have used to get boiling. So it's a more efficient way and also a safer way of cooking. So this is on behalf of the federal government of Nigeria.
One after the other, the women received the clean cook stoves.
The Director of Budget.
We are really grateful with this Energy Commission that they have made it a necessity to come into the community like this to sensitize us. We are really grateful.
The Commission plans to extend the intervention to more communities as part of efforts to protect the environment from carbon emissions. Sarah Chimugu, Channels Television News.
The Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, has commissioned 4 completed buildings at the Faculty of Education at the Bayero University, Kano. He further took an inspection tour of the failed solar energy project, where he expressed displeasure on the state of the project worth 5 billion naira, which was provided for by the federal government in 2019.
Bayero University, Kano, played host to the Minister of Education, who was in the state to commission some development projects in the Faculty of Education. The projects are the Center for Teaching and Learning, Micro-Teaching Laboratory, Department of Anatomy, Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Center for Reading and Research and Development. He applauds the university on its developmental projects.
It underscores the diligence and prudence with which the management of this university is handling its funds, for which they must be commended. And then secondly, we are also really very happy about the purposes of the facilities, not just having the building, but the reason behind them.
While inspecting the solar energy projects provided for the university by the federal government in 2019, the minister, who is unhappy with the failure of the project, vowed to go after the contractors.
We will bring the might of the federal government to ensure that people are here to account on this.
Other projects were also commissioned by the Deputy President of the Senate.
Even though government
funds public universities, but there's nowhere on earth that any public funded university is able to have the funds it needs fully from the government. So every public funded university must look inwards.
Vice Chancellor Sagir Abbas notes that the university is committed to excellence and is ranked the 5th best university in the country.
BUK, in terms of ranking, as far as academic activities are concerned, Bayero University today is number 5 university in Nigeria. We are coming after 4 universities that are located in one section of the country. So technically speaking, BUK is leading in 5 geopolitical zones of Nigeria.
The federal government is keen on ensuring that all aspects of education translates to development of the country. From Kano Commercial City, Nanchin Vincent, Channels Television News.
The federal government says it is committed to completing the ongoing construction of the dual carriageway of the Sheme-Gusau-Sokoto roads within the 50 months stipulated for the project to reduce the travel times for Nigerians. The Minister of Works, David Umahi, stated this while inspecting the ongoing construction of that road project, where he also expressed satisfaction with the quality and the speed of work done.
The Minister of Works is in Zamfara State, northwest Nigeria, to inspect the ongoing construction of the Gusau scheme and Gusau-Sokoto dual carriageway to assess the quality and speed of the work and to ensure the contractors execute the work to specification. With a warning to all the contractors to redouble their speed of work and to exhaust their mobilization, the minister reaffirms the federal government's commitment not to pay for variation of any project within the mobilization limit, stressing that it is the standard of the Federal Ministry of Works which must be adhered to.
Let me direct and re-emphasize that the outer shoulders must be done on concrete and no stone base on the outer shoulders, but 6 inches concrete with stone base. If they do otherwise, we will not pay for it. This is our directive, and we stand by that. So be assured that this speed and that of tractor, they are beyond, the design speed. So we are very happy.
The acting controller of works and the director of the special project disclosed that the third section of the Gusau-Talata-Mafra road was awarded at a cost of 237 billion naira, while the second section of Gusau Scheme Road was awarded at a cost of 195 billion naira, with a completion period of between 50 and 58 months.
The work is going satisfactory, and they have done a very good job. So they have laid a storm base up to 15.6 kilometer storm base, and they are doing asphalt.
We have a few challenges on this project because it is dualization, it's expansion. Some structures will be affected, but of course we have had discussions with the state government who are willing to support us in the area of compensation.
From the inspection site, the minister meets with the state governor as he stresses the need for the Zamfara state government to pay compensation while the ministry provides utility services along the road.
It's a man that is committed, to see, a better future for their people, because like he said, this road is for us. So we are the ones using it. And so he has been intervening because compensation issue is a major issue across the nation. But a lot of wise governors have taken to know, that this is for us. Because if the president fails to do the road, he has to do it.
The minister believes the ongoing road construction will have a great impact on the economy as it creates direct and indirect jobs for unemployed youth, even as it commended Governor Dauda Lawal for the massive infrastructure development being executed in Zamfara.
And now to the arts. Half-Mask Individuality is a solo exhibition by Akinlabi Akimbulumo at the Kokopelli Gallery right here in Lagos. The artist explores the different emotions people try to hide and depicts them as masks on his works of art. We see them on Art Review tonight.
The Kokopelli Gallery in Lagos, a modern and contemporary art house dedicated to showcasing ingenious artists who have mastered the art of storytelling, is the venue for this maiden solo exhibition by visual artist and storyteller Akinlabi Akimbulumo.
Mask individuality is really a profound exhibition by the phenomenal artist Akinlabi Akimbulumo, also known as Fisher. This exhibition is about stories that surround topics such as identity, vulnerability, and authenticity. It really is about how we walk around wearing half masks. A lot of times the reason why we wear these half masks is our way to cover our vulnerabilities, because we're so scared about how people will judge us or how people will perceive us. And so these half masks are not necessarily deceptive veils. They're actually just the way that we show up in the world, because that's how we understand that we can show up in the world with being our best selves.
In half-mask individuality, the artist creates works of art in monochrome and colors that show a human face juxtaposed with a mask.
My art has black and white, high contrast black and white photography at the center of it, and amidst that I play with a bit of motifs, gold, a lot of color play that just sort of intertwines with high contrast black and white photography in the center of it. And why do I use black and white photography? I think that no other type of photography brings out the soul within the image or within the people within the images that I take. And so that's really essentially what my style is. Black and white photography mixed with either gold or a lot of motif and patterns.
For him, the masked side of different personalities are some thoughts and feelings that are not revealed.
My hope is that for everyone who is here, that comes here to see these art pieces, they will see themselves in at least one of the images or one of the art pieces that they see. Because I'm here telling different stories. They are my own versions of the stories that I'm telling. But I want people to see their own selves within the different stories that I hear, and then connect with it. And then more importantly, understand that, look, all of us are human, all of us are going through the same types of things, the same types of struggles, and also the same types of victories. And that's what I'm hoping that anybody who's here will see.
This exhibition unveils the delicate interplay between public personas and private vulnerabilities.
In the world of sports, Rivers United are through to the quarterfinals of the CAF Confederation Cup to keep Nigeria's hope for a continental trophy alive. Enyinaya Kazie scored the winner in the 99th minute to added time in the second half to beat 10-man Ghana's Dream FC 2-1 to hand the pride of Rivers a spot in the knockout alongside their Ghanaian opponents at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium in Port Harcourt earlier this evening. Club African of Tunisia were forced to a 1-1 draw by the Angolan side in another Group C game. Dreams FC finished top of Group C after 6 games on 12 points, same as Rivers United. And the Ghanaian club side, however, enjoyed a superior goals difference. Lobe Stars reclaimed top spot in the Nigeria Premier Football League following a 2-0 win against Katsina United. John Victor and Alaud and Bani got the 2 goals from Makurdi-based team in match day 23. The game was also played this evening. Plateau United 2-0 win against Bendel Insurance at the New Jos Stadium moved them to second on the log, just a point behind Lobe Stars, who are 42 points. And Enugu Rangers recorded the only away win as the Flying Antelopes stunned Niger Tornadoes 2-0. For Heartland, they are still rooted bottom of the league as they were held to a 1-1 draw by Sunshine Stars in Owerri. Phil Foden also scored twice as Manchester City came from behind to beat Manchester United 3-1 in a Super Sunday clash, 1 point of English Premier League leaders Liverpool. Erling Haaland also struck in stoppage time to leave the title race perfectly poised ahead of City's trip to Liverpool on March the 10th. Marcus Rashford's wonder strike had fired United into a shock at the Etihad. But earlier, Bournemouth pushed struggling Burnley closer to relegation with a 2-0 win at Turf Moor. Elsewhere, LeBron James has become the first player to reach 40,000 career regular season points in the NBA. The 39-year-old superstar scored a team-high 26 points, 13 in the fourth quarter against defending champion Denver to achieve this milestone.
Never thinking about a milestone when I'm out there battling, but when it happens, obviously we acknowledge it, and obviously, much respect and much loyalty to the Laker fan base for showing me that love during the timeout, and being the first player to do something that's pretty cool in this league, because you just know the history, you know the greats that's come through the leagues, and then you see some of the greats on the floor tonight. It was just great to compete versus that. So, but for me, the main thing is always the main thing, and that's to win. And I hated that, had to happen in a defeat, especially versus a team that, plays extremely well basketball. And we played some good basketball tonight, but wasn't able to close it out. So, bittersweet, but I enjoyed every moment tonight, though, while on the floor.
Kenyan's Benson Akeredolu has emerged the winner of the Tokyo Marathon in a course record of 2 hours, 2 minutes, 16 seconds. His fellow countryman, Timothy Kiplagat, finished second, while Vincent completed the top three. For the women, Ethiopia's Sutume Kebede won the race in 2 hours, 15 minutes, 55 seconds, ahead of Kenya's defending champion, Rosemary Wanjiru, and Ethiopia's world champion, Amani Hankule. Israel has demanded that Hamas provides the names of hostages abducted on October the 7th, still in their custody, ahead of a planned ceasefire deal tomorrow. Mediators and Hamas officials are in the Egyptian capital, Cairo, for talks on a new ceasefire. Israel is also reporting to be demanding reassurance on the hostages' fate before attending that. Israeli media says that Hamas is refusing to say which of its hostages are still alive, so Israel will not attend. Pressure for a deal intensified after Thursday's incident outside Gaza City in the north of the area, where at least 112 people were killed as crowds pushed an aid convoy. Hamas has accused Israel of shooting at civilians as they attempted to get food, but Israel has denied this allegation. Armed gangs have stormed the main prison in Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince, also releasing many inmates there. According to a local journalist, the vast majority of about 4,000 men held there have now escaped. Among those detained were gang members charged in connection with the 2021 killing of the president. Violence in Haiti, the poorest country in the Americas, has worsened in recent years. Gangs aiming to oust Prime Minister Ariel Henry control 80% of the province. The latest upsurge in violence began on Thursday when the Prime Minister traveled to Nairobi in Kenya to discuss sending a Kenyan-led multinational security force to Haiti. At least 170 people have now been reportedly killed, execution style, during attacks on 3 villages in Burkina Faso. The public prosecutor who made this figure known appeals to witnesses to help find those who attacked Komsilga, Nordin, and Soro. Separately, army chiefs are warning of the increased risk of attacks by militants, including attacks in urban centers. The country's army seized power back in 2022, but more than a third of Burkina Faso is controlled by insurgents. And Mr. Koulibaly says that he has launched an investigation into the attacks in the village in Yetenga province on the 25th of February. And the main news again, some residents of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and today broke into a government warehouse in the city to loot food items. The FCT Police Command later announced that the 15 of suspects have now been arrested, while some of the looted items recovered. We also told you that human rights lawyer Femi Falana has challenged the federal government to deny or confirm if subsidy has been reintroduced amid allegations that it is paying 1 trillion naira every month. Also today, President Bola Tinubu asked Qatari investors to report any Nigerian government official who asks for bribe in his drive to boost investors' confidence in the country. And Israel has demanded names of hostages still alive before committing to a new deal on ceasefire. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Mwawado. Do have a wonderful week ahead. Good night.